G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David. Today I'm actually excited about this tree. You've already seen this spruce in my videos a number of times, me restyling it, redoing it. I eventually settled on this design and I was never convinced of it. I know you probably can't see the top, it's just a nice apex. I'll probably have to adjust the camera slightly just so you can have a better look, but I'll do that in a second. So you can have a better look. But I was planning to repot this tree because the pot it's in is pretty horrendous and I'm not happy with it. It's actually, it's a big square pot. Now let me adjust the camera for a bit so you can see how it all looks, and then I'll come back and talk about the rest of the tree. Alright, now you can probably see it a bit more. You can see that it's kind of has a bit of a tree here, a bit of a tree here, and a bit of a tree on the left side. It just doesn't, you know, when you look at it in person, it looks pretty good, but when you see it on camera, it looks a bit confusing. And the annoying thing is this trunk. It's such a nice old tree, but it looks really straight in when you look front on. I was thinking and umming and ahhing about this tree, like really thinking about what I can do with it, how I can go about changing this tree. And all I was really going to do is repot it, because this pot, as you can see, it's like this square pot. It's actually warped in the middle. It's actually just lowered in the middle, so now it rocks. It doesn't lay flat, so I can never put this on display even if I wanted to. But I had a couple of pots in mind. I wanted to change it. I wanted to have like a thinner pot, not as deep as this one because the trunk isn't that big. But this trunk was getting to me. It's a straight looking tree. It's got a tree over here. You can see there's a tree over here. There's probably a tree over here, and then the apex. It tried to do a combined big triangular shape, and it just was bothering me. Now, when you start out in bonsai, trying to come up with the right idea and tree and view and all that kind of stuff can be quite overwhelming. Just my thing is take your time. The reason I say that is, you know, I looked at this tree for a number of years trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it, and it's only actually yesterday just because I was looking for a new pot for it, I had a couple in mind. I was like, oh, I've got this really nice round kind of pot that would look really great if this tree was a little ratty or something a bit smaller. I had a big rectangular pot for putting this tree in as is, and I was just spinning the tree around, and by spinning the tree around you start to see different angles and different trees. So my biggest thing was the trunk. I wanted to change the angle of the trunk, so I started spinning it around and seeing what looked good and where it could be. Let me just take a little spin. Like, it looks, so you can see the side, the view, the back view. It's not a bad tree, to be honest, but it just was bothering me. Something was really bothering me, and it was the trunk. So all I did was spin it about this much, I think around there, about there. And now I could see much more movement in the tree, much more movement in the trunk. And then it appealed to me that there's a story here. Like there's a story that says, okay, so why is the tree going that way and leaning this way? And what can I show off more? Now, I saw this side of the tree with that bending trunk forming this side of the tree. Now, what I'll do is I'll cover sections up, because my vision now is going to be a massive change, and it could upset a lot of people, or could, you know, go great work. But it's always a matter of people's vision and what you envision of the tree. But I automatically saw this spectacular looking, a much better trunk. I will have to repot it at a different angle slightly, but it's got more movement. It's got, if you have a nice close look, it looks really good. And then it's got a story to say that this side of the tree has survived and that side of the tree has died off. And it tells me it's being pushed this way and the canopy is growing this way. And if I put it in a nice round pot, and I'll show you that pot in a bit later, it actually really blends really well. But it took me a good couple of years to see that. Now that's the plan I'm going to do. Now I will try and cover these up so I can give you an idea of what I'm trying to say, but it's going to be a little bit hard until I start working on this tree. This is a big effort. This is going to be a huge change. Now I am going to repot too. But the reason I'm doing that is I've done all the work on this tree. It's survived all the work, all the wiring, the cutting back, etc. And now it's coming into spring. So my intention is to keep all this foliage here on my right, and pretty much this little bit on the top, goes and that side bit goes. Now, I'm not actually impacting the tree's health too much. I'm removing the foliage, yes, but I'm not like bending and doing massive bends and this and that that could weaken the tree. All I'm doing is removing foliage that is on the tree at the moment, coming into spring. This is the foliage that will get all the energy, and so you can actually reduce the root ball a little bit to get into the new pot. So the new pot is just a more rounder version, slightly a bit more shallower, not too much more shallower, and it actually should work really well. So big project, big tree, it's gonna look, I know I've talked a long time, but I really want to explain this process. Don't think it's all immediate, you know, it's never immediate, you know. I'm sure the experts have actually looked at a tree, worked on a tree, got it to a point where, guess what, now it's ready, you know. I tried to come up with different designs for the tree, but it wasn't until today or yesterday I saw what I really want to do with the tree. Sorry about me blabbing along again, but that's the point I want to get, especially for beginners. You're really important for beginners. So let's get cracking on this tree. It's going to take me a lot of effort. I'm going to have to take all the wire off, start cutting it all back, and it'll be a big process of ginning. And, you know, I want to see how the gins look like up the top. I want to see what that one looks like as a gin. Really is getting rid of a lot of foliage and a lot of trees to create a nice little arty that's on this side. Nice cascading branch, big nice bend in the trunk, and then get repotted, and I think it'll look spectacular. Alright guys, I'm going to get cracking on it. It's going to be probably a long video, but we'll see how we go. Sorry guys, I did the best I can to try and explain what I was trying to get to, but that's the vision I have. It's not the best, hiding all the foliage, and you probably can't see the trunk now, but we will attempt to do something like that, and I'll get really started onto really taking all the wire off first thing. I might actually, what I'll do is, I really want to remove that top, because I think once you remove this can be seen much better. So I'm going to work on the top first, gin that all off, then work on this side tree, because I really like this side tree. I'm contemplating, you know what, if these two look good together with the gin, maybe that's another idea. But at the moment, that is the tree, and we'll look at, I think it's all got to come off. This is got to come off, that's got to come off, and have a nice tree. The only issue is this bit here. You can see how it's really straight and really unattractive. Now I'm envisioning I want to maybe run some shari from the top and runs down to this gin here, and maybe even runs down to this. So a nice shari that goes along the trunk, and that will get rid of this straightness here. And eventually I'll have foliage that blocks this out as well. So that's kind of the plan. So it's going to be a long project, but it's really exciting. This is the stuff, you know, you really work towards in building a tree. That's what I get a kick out of. Really, you know, finding the best tree within a tree. Finding the best bonsai in a tree. You know, it might need massive cuts and massive amount of work, but it's all worth it. All right, let's get cracking. All right, everyone. So I have de-wired this whole top half of the tree. There's also this branch here that comes off that top half. So I'm going to go ahead and just gin all this area up. So if you know ginning, like if you know how to gin, it's just stripping the bark off and then cleaning it up. So, you know, I don't want to get my arms in the way, you know, but anything that's small I probably will take off. Like things like that, they're not going to be able to gin them. So anything really small I'm not going to gin. For example, I've just cut this branch. Can you see that one? So I've left little small stubs. They're a bit small, but you know, that's what I mean by a little bit of a gin. I mean, I'm not going to keep all the little ones. I'm just going to keep a lot of the main branching, because otherwise it'll just get a bit too difficult to do it all. So you just go through. I've initially go through and cut all anything that I want to remove in terms of foliage. I cut off and just go through that. So you can see how it's slowly stripping back. It's getting a lot more naked. Just keep working away. So that's my initial thing. That's what I do initially before I start to gin the actual branches, because then there's a whole process of actually squishing this up. So let me cut through all this, cut all these branches off. As I said, I only cut the really fine stuff, because I don't want them, like that's too fine to gin. Yeah, too fine to gin. So I'll go and cut all these off, and then we'll come back and go through the ginning process. So you can see clearly now all the foliage has been removed at the top of the tree. Now it's a matter of using my gin pliers or any other pliers that you've got, and you actually go through and squash, squash the branching. Like you just squash, and the cambium just flakes and gets squashed, and the hardwood would stay alive. Now I'll just show you, I'll just squish all this branch. Right, and then it's just a matter of, I just pull it off with this. Usually you can just pull it off and just tear right off with your fingers. And you get to see the hardwood underneath. Can you see that starting to come together? So you can just pull it off with your fingers eventually. So you can see that, nice and clean, very easy. This time of year it's very easy to get off because all the sap's starting to flow. So I'm just going to keep going, just go through this process of ginning all these. I mean, I might not eventually keep all these, but at least, you know, if I cut it off now, I won't have actually a choice. By leaving as much as you can, you actually have choices. So you can see if you can keep things, don't want to keep them. You know, I might not keep any of this, but it might be just a short stub over here. That's about it. But I am going through the process of, let's not eliminate things now, let's do it later when we're a bit more certain about what the tree's going to look like. See how easy that is to come off? You can almost do it with your hand. Just the cambium just came straight off. Very easy. So at least I've done that bit. Now I'm just going to work through the rest of the tree. There is that back branch that I'm going to also try and do as well. So that will create a nice feature. It's a nice little gin there. It's actually pretty good at the level, but we'll see how it all fits in the whole puzzle of the tree eventually. So I'll go away and finish all that off, and then I'll work on this as well. This is a bit more tricky. I don't want to, in this sense, I don't want to just have a nice straight cut there. I want to leave kind of like it slowly looks like it slowly dies back. So I've got to be a bit more creative here, where just peel it slowly from here, making nice natural looking gin on this. So gin is creating these. So just making nice gin that goes down. I don't want to have a nice straight cut. It look a bit terrible. So just more natural look. Okay. All right, just give you a show what it looks like now. The whole top area has been ginned. So you can see here, I didn't go all the way. I tried to leave it to let it die back naturally. Now, oops. Now I want to try and show you, give you an idea of why I liked this as the front. So you could probably just make out this. No, you probably can't. There's not enough background. But you can see the potential of that side. It's starting to really come together well. All the bark, unfortunately. So yeah, this side is what I'm going to want to keep. I'm going to have to pull the camera back a bit more so you can see overall what the tree looks like. Now overall we want to just keep this side. So you can see what I'm trying to get at. It looks still pretty the best solution for the tree. And now, I've ginned all that, you can see, but I don't know if we keep it all, but it's good to have it there. I think it definitely needs some shari down the trunk. So that's one thing that will help with the tree. But now I'm going to move on to the other tree. I'm pretty confident. I don't really want two trees. It doesn't look right. Even if I put them in the middle, it just looks kind of weird. It doesn't explain why this tree has grown the way it did. So this gives you a much better explanation. That side of the tree was damaged and this side has continued to grow. And that's how I see it, and it's working out really well. So the gin, you saw how you do it, just squeeze it, squeeze the live branches with some gin pliers or pliers or whatever you got, and then start peeling it off. It comes off pretty easy. When you get to the thicker part, I just use different cutters just to peel the bark off. Nothing new there, or a knife just to clean that up. Now I'm going to let this dry off naturally. Like it's pretty clean and fresh, and it's quite, I can feel it's quite wet, so it's a bit oozing still. So I'll let that dry naturally and then play around with it later on. I'm not going to really bend branches, bend dead wood anywhere. I'm just going to leave it naturally to do whatever it needs to do. Might not stay, I might just keep this little bit, don't know. But at least I've got enough there to go, okay, I've got it. If I cut it off now, I won't be able to get it back. So let's leave it on and make a final decision later down the track. So now I'm going to go work on that side of the tree. I'm going to have to remove all the wire and do the whole process again of ginning, etc. But we'll take it a step at a time. Then I'll look at trying to do some shari, trying to find some live and dead veins and see what it looks like with the tree. And then we'll finally do some, just get this in the right position and branching, have the tree in the right angle, and then do the repot. So big process. I won't do it in one day, it'll be over several days for me, but for you guys it will just be one video. So stay tuned for more. Alright everyone, so you can now see I've removed all the foliage, the wire and the foliage on this. I haven't ginned it yet, but now if I tilt this, probably not close enough, probably if I now tilt this to that angle, you can see what I'm getting at by the movement, the deadwood, and this part of the tree being the focus. I hope you guys can see the vision I've got for the tree. That's my vision. It will take some wiring and tweaking here and there. Once it's in a new pot, do a full view, it'll look quite good, and I'll show you the different angles. Now, if I turn it to the side, the new side, you can see how it comes forward, and you can see the big bend it's got. So definitely this tree probably has to go backwards a bit. So this trunk has to go lean backwards a little bit more. But you can actually, I don't know, it's a massive improvement. Much more interesting tree now. I don't know how much that deadwood I'm going to keep. Looks a bit crazy, out of control. But for now, well, let's leave it all on and we'll get to it. But in the meantime, I hope you guys can see what I'm heading towards. I think the front's somewhere in there. I can't see on the camera exactly where it is, but I will make sure I line that all up eventually. Now I'm going to just gin all that off, and then I'm going to start working on some of these other old gins that are towards the back and little few other bits and pieces. I'm also going to investigate if there's a nice shari. Shari is the deadwood along the trunk. Deadwood along the trunk. Jins are the branches that you kill off and make into gin, so into deadwood. So these are jins that are the branches. Shari is deadwood running along the trunk. So if you don't know that, that's what that is. Another definition is nabari. Hear that word? That's the root spread at the base. Simple as that. So just a couple of terms I know people have been asking me to clarify. But there you go, guys. I'm going to get it stuck doing ginning all that again. Remember, just use the pliers, use whatever you got to strip the bark off. It comes off pretty easy at this time of year, so we'll get into it. Alright people, I hope you can now see what I'm trying to get to. And, just a little bit of tweaking on that side. Get the tree in the right place, that just needs a bit of tweaking. But all this is killed off. There's a few gins that I cleaned up, had over there. Now, I have been having a look. Now, I'll turn towards this back of the tree now. Along here, I can actually see some dead trunk. The trunk looks a bit dead. Now I'll try and come in close. It's going to take me a bit of effort to actually peel that off with what the tools I've got. But along here, see how it's all dried off? It's actually quite a natural shari, deadwood, that I'll have to clean out. And it goes to this kind of branch here. So it goes all the way along here. I don't know how much further it goes up there. I think it does because this bark is flaking off. But I'm going to see how, I think at least connects that to that. So at least connects that to that. So that's good. But I want to maybe get it to go a little bit higher and connect to that. So I create shari along here that kind of gets rid of that straightness over this section. But it's a little bit towards the back. So we're going to have to try and we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in terms of how it's going to turn out. But we're going to give it a shot. So I'm going to work on this shari bit. Just to see if I've got, with the tools I've got, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, then I'll have to pick up some other tools to do that. But in the meantime, that's where I'm up to. And I think it's coming along really well. I want to see the movement in the trunk, and then we'll work on getting this in the right spot. But yeah, hope you guys see the much better tree now, and it looks more appealing and more interesting. So, how is it looking right now? I think it's getting there in terms of what I want to try and achieve now. Unfortunately, the natural shari is towards the back of the tree, so I'm gonna have to. I've created the shari, but it's always it's at the back, unfortunately. It's all where it was dead, but you can probably just see part of it, right? My intention is I've actually extended it a little bit up this trunk and made a bit of a shari in here. I'm hoping that this bit here dies back a little bit. I left all the cambium alone that's on this side of the tree, that's under here. I'm just making the assumption that the live vein is all running along here for that trunk. The rest of the back was dead. I think it must have been another trunk somewhere or some branches further down that have killed it off. But here's the rough look of the tree. Now it's a matter of repotting it. So as I said to you, really, all I've done is remove a bit of foliage on here, and that's it. Honestly, it looks like a major transformation, but the tree is such a... all the hard work has been done to it already. All the removal of huge amount of foliage previously has been done. It's survived over a year, and it's pushed out new growth, and it's coming up to spring, and the buds are looking really good. So there's nothing that's... I don't think there's anything negative to hinder this tree from kicking along. So there was actually not a huge amount of foliage here, not a huge amount of foliage here. That side of the tree had most of the foliage. So I reckon I've taken only probably a third of the foliage off, to be honest. So easily this huge pot can be transformed into a smaller pot. Now I do have a pot I've picked out for it. It's the only one that will fit this tree. So it is what it is. It's going to be that's going to be the one it's going to use. So I'm just going to get stuck into this and start to repot it. All right, we'll be back in a minute. All right, everyone, so I've pretty much cleared everything out of the way, and in terms of the table, I'm just going to see if this, I think it should just pull out. Alright, slowly getting there. Oh. This is the size of the pot that was in before. And say goodbye to that pot. Oh. Alright, bit of work to do there. So now I'm just going to comb out the root ball. Pretty much just get it nice and combed out. It's probably going to take me 20 minutes or so. I'll just use the root hook, and then I'll adjust the camera and we can get repotted into the new pot. I'll give you a look at the pot in a minute as well. Here's the pot it's going to go into. It's a nice stamped pot. I don't know if it's Japanese or Korean, but I've got to give it a clean, but beautiful pot. Much better size for this tree to go into. So we'll work on this to get this into this tree. I'll work on the root ball and we'll come back and repot it together. All right, everyone, I got the root ball quite worked through. You see nice root ball, nice hanging roots as well. Now I did realise this, I don't know if spruce are closely related to black pines, because I did seem to find some mycorrhizae in the roots, like it looks like it's got some sort of nice white, similar to black pines. As you know, you can probably notice I haven't washed the roots. I do not bear root spruces and pines, etc. So I don't wash all the roots off, so I just leave it as it is. Now I'm going to get the pot. That's about all I'm going to take off. Most of it fell through with my fingers, which is good. Alright, so I'm quite far away from you guys because I want to show you the process of how I go about doing this. So I've got my pot already mounded the soil reasonably high in the middle. Now I've got tie wires in to tie the roots up. So I've got 6 pairs, I've got 3 pairs, so I'm going to do it 3 times, so it's going to be nice and tight. But now I've got to really figure out where I'm placing this tree in the pot exactly how I want it to be, okay? And then we tie it in, and then we get it, and then we can have a look at it, okay? So maybe a bit too much soil, I think, but we'll see. So I'm just pretending where I'm going to put it for now. I was totally wrong way. Alright, so I've been messing around trying to find the right angle, for the tree. What I try now and do is just put a bit of tie the tree in loosely, just so I can have a good look at what it looks like, and then I can adjust the tree. It's very important to just make sure you get it right. It's always the tricky bit. This is always the tricky bit. If anything, I think the tree's falling that side on, so it's falling to the front, so I'm going to have to get some soil and mount it up underneath that front. Right, let's have a quick look now. The way I do it is I come back and stand with you guys pretty much and try and assess the tree. Let's have a look. Oopsie, that didn't work. Oh. Alright, let's have a look. It's not looking too bad. It comes. So if I put it side on, I think it's coming too far forward. I think I've got to get it back a bit more. That's what I was trying to do before. Is that looking a bit better? So it looks a bit better. And you can see the movement now. A bit better that way. The tree isn't as falling far forward as we want. It's just a little bit forward. So that's pretty good. I think that's not a bad angle. The pads we can always fix and rearrange. I think I just missed getting it right. That foot needs to be the centre. I think I'm just a bit off. I'm just going to turn this way a little bit. And that's better. I think that's where I'm at. How does that look? I think that looks pretty good. Alright, now I'm just going to tie it in, fill it up with soil, and we're good. So everyone, that's kind of the finished product. I'm much more happier with this tree. Now the only thing I really haven't touched is the jins. I'm not sure if I want to keep them or not. At the moment, I got the tree repotted, nice new soil. Look at the pot now in comparison to the tree, much more balanced, much more interesting. And you can see the movement of the trunk now. It looks much better. The foliage nicely padded out. That will develop over time. It's got the list, got the structure. Yes, the jins are a bit chaotic, I guess, but I don't want to get rid of them just yet. I'm going to leave them there for now, and we'll see what happens in the future. They're not too bad as they are, to be honest. It makes an interesting tree. It makes a very interesting talking point. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it. It came up better than before, better than I imagined. The other thing is, previously it just looked like an absolute mess of a tree. I was trying to keep as much foliage as I can without, wanting to cut it all off. But now, it looks heaps better. Let me try and pull this so you can get the whole picture. There you go. So, big difference. I'm looking forward to all your feedback, guys, because I'm sure you give me lots of interesting feedback on this tree. Some of you might love it, some of you might hate it, but I think it's the best outcome for this tree, best thing I can do for it. So I think that's the best thing I can do today. If I change anything in terms of the jins and stuff like that, I will show you the change, but now it's pretty much rest and recovery for the next probably 6 months. I'll let this shoot out in spring. The buds are quite nice and plump all along the tree. Let them open up and explode, and then we'll assess the tree. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Probably a long video, but I think it's well worth it. Showed you the step-by-step process of how I went through it. Design-wise, I had already designed the tree, so that's probably the best thing. Designing the tree first, and then designing the tree first, and then finding where the final product looks like. So, all right, guys, enough of me talking. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.